Chapter 6. Any sense of chagrin Paige may have felt over having been caught in the midst of loving her husband fled at the sight of Ian sprawled on his face on the stable floor. The man hit him hard enough to leave him for dead, and then he dragged her out of the stable, screaming in protest. Unlike the night before, all work had ceased. Her husband had declared this a day of celebration, so everyone was at the bonfire, half a league away, purposely built to keep the fire as far from surviving structures and new construction as possible.
"We cannot leave him there."
The man, dressed in McLean red, jerked her arm so hard it made her squeal.
"He'll be fine,"
the stranger said.
"I nearly cracked him on the head, but if you make me go back, I'll make certain he won't rise again."
Paige's relief was palpable.
"You have no idea what you have done. My husband will come searching for me the very instant he wakes. He will find you,"
she warned, and then she wished she hadn't made such a boast. The very last thing she wanted was for the man to go back and make sure Ian was dead.
"He won't find you till 'tis too late."
Paige had a sinking feeling down in her gut.
"Too late?"
She couldn't place the man's accent, not precisely. He wasn't Scots. His accent sounded strange to her ears, and yet vaguely familiar as well.
"Because your father is going to kill you,"
he explained. Paige was genuinely confused by his claim. Her father had had very little to do with her for 10 years and more.
"My father?"
"Aye, your father."
"Hugh is here."
"Aye."
"With you?"
"Not precisely."
"He has come to kill me."
"Does it matter?" Paige bristled at the man's question.
"Of course it does."
What child ever wanted to believe her father could do such a thing? Hugh FitzSimon had never loved her overmuch, but Paige could not see him come to murder her in cold blood. And still, he'd been quite willing to discard her. Never mind that he'd changed his mind and then wanted her back. To Hugh, Paige had never been aught more than chattel. And still it made her heart wrench that her father might want her dead.
But why? What could he hope to gain?
She was not a son, and therefore she would never inherit her father's domain. In terms of politics, it was far more reasonable to assume he'd pass his legacy to a bastard son. Had not King Henry's illegitimate son, Robert of Gloucester, benefited just that way?
"Who are you?"
Paige demanded to know. The years may have mellowed her, but she would not so easily cow.
"Someone with a vested interest."
At Aldurk they'd had a kitchen maid with that very accent. She remembered her father smacking the woman on the arse quite a lot. In fact, there were quite a few evenings when he'd summoned her to his room to bring him sweets he'd always claimed. Only now she wondered what kind of sweets.
"A vested interest in what?"
Now that they were far enough away and Ian wasn't in immediate danger, Paige dragged her feet, planting her heels. The man pulled her along across the field against her will. The light of the bonfire and ringing of voices diminished behind them as he dragged her in the direction of the woods. A sliver of a moon lit the night sky, but it lay hidden behind a bank of puffy white clouds, giving the landscape a gray, otherworldly light. With every step, Paige expected to hear Ian calling after her, but the sound of his voice remained absent from the hillside, and the merriment fell further and further away. The man pinched the back of her arm, jerking her forward when she tried to sit.
"What I have to gain is not important for you to know." "Oh, someone will notice I am gone,"
she warned the man, remembering another time she'd made such threats in vain. And yet this time, Paige knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that her husband and clan valued her. Someone would come searching the instant they realized she was gone. These were now her people, and they would never sit idly by, allowing this man to take her life.
They'll come after you, they will find you, and they will hang you from the gallows.
Nay, the man said confidently, once again jerking her arm. There was a smile in his voice. They will find your father's camp. They'll blame Hugh, and when they kill him, I'll be gone. A spark of hope flared, inconceivably, not because this man meant to murder her, but because her father might not be the one behind this atrocity after all. Still, she wanted to know.
Why is my father here?
Because that bag of wind believes he can buy his way to heaven by rebuilding a few huts.
Paige's heart thumped against her ribs. Her father was the one who rebuilt the huts?
Her brow furrowed, and then suddenly she realized. Those odors back in the stable, they were scents from her past. Lavender, cinnamon, and cloves. The cloves she could still smell overstrongly on the man dragging her along. A tincture exactly like the one the kitchen maid had used to use to mask her body's scent. She had a son, a bit older than Paige, that she liked to claim was a servant of God. Paige had often wondered if his father was a fish, because his mother smelled so foul. She said the boy had a noble sire, and then one day he was gone. Paige swallowed hard.
I know who you are.
The man jerked her arm once again and said, "Shut up!" Peering over her shoulder, Paige searched for moving shadows. She spied nothing at all. Judging by the growing silence, her husband never reemerged from the stables, and her heart squeezed with fear. And neither did anyone else seem to realize what was happening here, and her father, wherever he might be, was in as much danger as she was. If Ian happened to find him first and she hadn't had the chance to explain, or if Malcolm or Cameron discovered Hugh before Ian did, they would kill him without question.
What makes you think you'll get away with this?
Paige asked furiously.
Shut up,
the man said again, and Paige grit her teeth. They slipped into the woods, and peering over her shoulder once more, gauging the bonfire's distance, she decided she had far more to lose by keeping silent. Be damned if any man but her husband would ever tell her what to do again. She spun around, screaming her father's name at the top of her lungs.